welcome to the beginning of the week. So refreshing today, or choose to believe. I'm going to talk about a subject today that I know absolutely nothing about, even less about. We're going to look at page 2, primarily news. About, I just don't know about sport at all. Not even less than a little bit. I just don't care. Absolutely don't care. Why? So page 222, a news report. News reports give specific information on a recent event. Readers expect to find the following information quickly and easily as they read the report. I would argue that these days people don't read reports. People read. I have grown adults who are illiterate, who literally cannot read. They wouldn't be able to read a book if you gave them, threatened to kill them if they didn't do it. Nobody reads anymore. They say that. They say nobody reads. For the most part, it's true. And we've got this very divided sort of culture of intellectualism and anti-intellectualism. This was a phrase coined by Isaac Asimov. He was an American author, scientist, writer, journalist, celebrity even. He wrote thousands of pieces of work during his lifetime, both scientific papers and science fiction novels. Pretty great man. Some of his material is questioned later on, but generally speaking, a very positive influence on humanity who had some shaky ideas. But one thing that I do agree was his constant talk about anti-intellectualism, how America was being systematically dumbed down. He was an American. This movement towards condemning intelligence and replacing it with a sort of cool laziness. And the result of it is to see. America's going to collapse any day now. The dollar cannot function anymore. Biden is probably the final nail in the coffin. He's probably been put in power to finish America. Rinse it out, wrap it up, tie it in a bow and finish it off. It's done. It's done. America will fall in the next few years. It'll collapse. We'll see what happens afterwards. But it's going to take a lot of work with it. There's a deliberate plan for this, which we can talk about anybody to. Who cares at this point? It's probably too late to do anything about it anyway. So the news now is incredibly immoral. It tries to steer you towards absolute lies. And we've seen that. You're living through events now, like the invasion of Iraq. The invasion of Ukraine, which is a completely staged event. And by that, I don't mean that it's fake. I mean that it's been set up. There's a very interesting documentary from 2018 called Ukraine on Fire, where exactly this is being. All those years ago, they're talking about how Ukraine is being set up, how this is a move towards globalism is a one moment where that complete and utter control over the world, and that will be NATO. That'll be a spreading of NATO so that it completely takes over, destroys independent and civilizations and cultures, and eventually has a one world government with absolute power and one army. And this is a horrifying prospect. Can you imagine a government with one army surrounding the entire world? Why would you have an army if there is no one to fight? The answer, of course, is that you are the target. So, think about that. You won't, but think about that. But you won't. So, people reading the news, anybody reading for news is probably still able to find it. It's there. I go looking for this information and I find it. I would argue that it's probably easier to find than it used to be. But it is getting harder. But good information is still there if you want it. It's still there. But most people just watch social media and think they're up to date on the news. And you're not. You can't be. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Most people would would not care at all in the slightest. So, it'll tell you who has happened, why it happened, and how it happened. The goal of news media. Very often, nothing these days happens on Western media out here as well, unless you're not told what's happening, you're told what they want you to think. You're like a and that should make you angry. It probably doesn't, but it should. I know you're young and you think this is all nonsense, but as an older person, they're coming for them now. It's too late. You're probably so indoctrinated now that you think I'm just talking nonsense. You're probably listening. You're probably logged out, zoned out, and you're not interested in the world around you. It's late for your generation, but my generation still wants to fight. Okay, so let's. Singapore wants to be a good sport. The Australian, vaguely connected to sport, which I have interest in, therefore I know nothing about. Singapore is spending $500 million to establish a sport venue in Southeast Asia, with an eye on the right to the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Now, this was published in 2002, and it never happened. And let's be fair, $500 million is not a lot of money in terms of an entire country spending it. It's just not a lot of money, and it's not going to. It didn't work. Singapore is not a big Southeast Asian venue for sport. Never was. Will be. Last weekend, Michael Hooper, New Zealand CEO of the Commonwealth Games Federation, visited the investigate facilities and said it is feasible here. Feasible meaning it's possible, it could happen. But also when we say saying it's likely, we're saying well, it's not impossible. You know, feasible. Such happen, but they're incredibly unlikely. The $500 million plan doesn't say if it's dollars or American dollars. Singapore has formulated to promote the of Sporting Singapore. Staging the games would be its biggest achievement. It's interesting to see words like formulate and promote. Words probably don't have any because 20 years ago people were a lot smarter. Plans are advanced to replace the Asian Concrete National Stadium, which hosted last weekend's leg of the International Rugby Board's World Series. The details are yet to be finalised, but the expectation is that the 9-year-old stadium will be replaced by a sports complex that will include an aquatic area as well as several stadiums to complement a rebuilt. That Mr. Hooper's positive image of us, Stephen Yu of the Sports Council said. However, we have yet to complete the necessary cost-benefit analysis. Planning a cost-benefit analysis. Work out what it's going to cost us. Work out what's worth investing on it. That's the early stage, long before you start planning out buildings. So this meeting starts to sound like they got him fed, got him drunk, and maybe put a few dollars in his wallet. I'm sure that's not how sports works. FIFA. Singapore has been making serious moves to attract more world-class sporting events, which it believes will drive its tourism industry. This is all about, of course, an investment in tourism usually pays back. Thailand, for instance, survives on tourism, and they only they did generate about 30% of GDP from tourism, because it's a huge thing. But of course, they turned on the tourists. They tried to change themselves from what they were represented as, and nobody wanted them to be that. When I was there 10 years ago, they were talking about being the Asian Riviera. It's like, no, you're never going to be that. Nobody wants you to be that, except politicians who think they get rich off it. Nobody wanted that. Tourism is something to be taken seriously. Currently, tourism contributes to a small part of Singapore's economy, but the industry is growing. Didn't grow enough. Its latest swoop has been to be chosen to host the Asian Cricket Council Trophy in July. 23 one-day games will be played. It's exciting stuff, isn't it? I can see why you love sporting. Already, golf, the 2002 the European Tour's big names in there, while three of the Singapore next month. And the tournament, I have no idea what. To Sporting Glory. The Sporting Glory was the first time that a top-ranked international rugby event engaged in Singapore, and the Republic has a guaranteed leg of Colonel Kwan Yi Yong, executive director, dictator there, which is probably closer to the truth, of the Sports Council. The sport is now a key area and was being given high billing with the emphasis on quality. Probably on tax. Trying to get the locals and everyone's excited about sports, he said. The most important thing is that the rugby must be of the highest standard, and it has been. Singaporeans haven't seen this before. I don't think Singaporeans are really built for rugby. One of the most successful teams in terms of rugby is the All Blacks, the New Zealanders, because the Maoris are gigantic. Well, there's two main sports in rugby. It's always been football. It's a game played by gentlemen for animals. So the players, the football players, are gentlemen, and the audience is meant to be animals. And rugby is the game for gentlemen, played by animals. And if you ever see rugby players, you'd know what I mean. They are, wow, they're not even human. They're gigantic, and they just way through the match and end up with ears top, missing, noses, just carry, they spit out some blood. Don't think Singapore is the Inter is to create an event of similar standing to the long-established Hong Kong Sevens, which now holds court to crowds who are for the atmosphere as the rugby. That makes sense. Hong Kong was taken over, given back to reluctantly, and that probably destroyed the vacuum that Singapore is trying to fill. No original ideas. Hence, Singapore's attempt to market the weekend on the with the concourse shows. So basically, yeah. Was looking to pick those for profit. Because about any with any passion, they're talking about taxation and dollars and all that stuff. That sounds very Singaporean. Surface. Yeah. So there's just article. I know nothing, and I care nothing about sports. I don't care at all. I have no. Maybe you don't. Yeah. Go through this again. Have a look through, and then answer questions 1 through 10. So I'll give you some time, and then we'll come back and see what you did. Okay. And in the venues. Let's face they want to. So they invest 500 million, half a billion. Which, again, not really a lot of money in terms of infrastructure. Country like the highest cost of living country in the world. Expensive city to live in. I mean, it doesn't go very. They're trying to build new. those sporting events will attract an audience from all around the world who want to travel there, and of course, we'll food, and they'll stay. And this is a huge injection. Sporting events are a huge income and revenue stream. The stadium will be replaced. I forgot, as previously did, don't care about sports in this out the other. But I guess, oh God. I remember seeing it. Oh. Oh. This is why I have. Is it important to the CEO of the Commonwealth Games? Because again, a major event like the World Cup football, Commonwealth, then everybody will come. Deal. It puts you on the map. But getting it there is the issue. So it's important. A positive report from him, the CEO, interested in you, and he won't go any further. Supporting facilities. International sporting events planned for. Oh, geez. Well, I hope you found them. We've been trying to get the locals excited. There's a rugby. There's Hong Kong Sevens thing. There's some other very important things. What did Colonel Kwan give to host a rugby tournament? To get is so that we can get more money, because why do people attend international events? I mean, this is a thinking question, and your answer may vary. Because they, I mean, again, I have no interest in sport, but I can understand you're in a certain, you're going to travel to it. I've been across England to go to a cycle event or a car, and you know, it takes us 5 hours in a car to get there because we want to see it. People they're passionate about. That people. I've cycle rallies. Again, it's an entire day of travel just to get. It's just rugby family weekend. Usually they'll do, they'll build a concourse, and they'll try and attract. This is absolutely worth doing. Let's take my kids there. Thousands of dollars in my wallet so that we can buy. That's probably how Singapore works. Looking at very little I know about Singapore, it's but I don't know if it's still there, where they had one of them in a room watching and reactions to the prices of cars. Now these are multi-millionaires who are very disconnected from the world because they're rich. They just have fleets of cars. Think about it. Basic cars, electric hybrid cars. God, it was so expensive that it just. And that's what we're talking about. Very, very living. No chance of succeeding because nobody want to go there. It's not going to happen. But I could be wrong. I know nothing. It must be nice to hear me about I know nothing about for once, because I'm interested in everything except sports. I once worked in a stupid shop. I lasted 2 days, and And physics, as a general, know nothing about life. So by definition, physics is life. Football is why I have no interest in it. So that's why I have no interest in sport, because people put way too much emphasis on sport. As the United States, give them bread and circuses. It means fill the circuses means keep them distracted. This week, the news has been absolutely filled with slapping Chris Rock, an event for which Will Smith absolutely should go to prison. It was staged. I'm pretty sure it was staged, probably to get more interest in the Oscars and to distract from serious news events. The laptop, President Biden's son is a crack addict, lost his laptop with incriminating documents showing that he was and making illegal deals all around the world. And this laptop is since 2000. It was finally found, and it looked like they were indicting him 30 years in prison for insider trading and criminal fraud. And then the FBI announced yesterday they've lost it. They can't proceed with the charges. The FBI, powerful for America, have lost the laptop. He won't face any charge. And it happened just around the time that Will Smith was hitting Chris Rock. Give them a look at the truth. Politics has always been about protecting the guilty by punishing the innocent. So, insider trading that have crippled tens of thousands of people's lives. People who've lost their houses over this. And crack addict. So, that's what sport is to me. It's a circus, an unwanted distraction from the realities of life. So I don't really have any interest in this. Reports are filled with this when they should be filled with what's actually happening in the world and no longer are. So, as a news from the Australian, what's interesting here is the quality of language is very good, very good, especially it shows you just in the last 20 things have got. So, that's all from me for today. See you next time.